Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for the music, Michelle, and thanks for being the hostess, Kristen. So welcome back, my friends. And I am going to I'm going to try to share my screen. I see Sarah looking at me. Way back in the day, Sarah taught me a lot about technology, my friend.
You can
So
do it.
I want to share it to show you. Thank you, Sarah. I love your positive attitude. So I'm going to share the screen. Here we go. And now, though, I have to find the how do I get to the stuff that I want to share? I need help. I want to show you what I had, the result, because you guys so far, well, I'm admitting Joe while I do it, but I need to get up here to show. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing 1 second and get it out first. I hid it up here. I saved it, but I can't get to all of my tabs. I have tons of tabs. No, not on that computer. Up here. Like, it's not here though.
So minimize your Zoom. Yeah.
But none of them are here.
Keep breathing.
Okay, but it's gone. It was like a tab. Okay, never mind, you guys. I'm going to get it for you. Just trust me. Here it is.
Yeah.
Eileen, you can
you
do
guys,
history.
Can you see this? Yes?
Yeah, you got to reshare your screen.
Oh. Now, if I reshare, you can see it. Hold on, friends. You know what? Am I doing a good job of people being lost? Thanks, Sarah. Everybody's laughing. I am. Okay, here we are. This is what I'm sharing. Hold the phone. Can you see it?
Yes.
Oh, groovy Tuesday. You guys, thank you for your patience because I get a little nervous sometimes. So far 24 people have responded, and this is really important because I just love Alan Schoenfeld and the Teaching for Robust Understanding. But if people don't get to explain their ideas, the research shows they don't learn as much and they don't retain as much. So what you said is yes. Do you see that? 95 and 8/10% said yes. But here's what I think is crucial, and we can give you access to this so you can look at it. It was the breakout rooms, able to share in group and chat, several opportunities to share. And this is so important because this metacognitive piece, we cannot be afraid to ask our students. And when I first started teaching, I was scared because I had middle schoolers and they just really tell you, right? But by them telling me, it allowed me to be a better teacher. So that's the first question. And then when we get down to this next one about, am I recognized? There were 21 responses to that. And I'm just trying to find so how am I recognized as being capable and able to learn? This session is chock full of methods of interaction that I feel might need separate training. So that's true. So like, in order to participate, when we have things like Jamboard, what you need to put in your notebook is, how will you parcel that out so that they're learning one thing at a time? Does that make sense? So people are saying, yes, it is helping them contribute in meaningful ways, but how do we gradually up the ante for children? Does that make sense? Do I get to participate in meaningful learning? So people are saying, yes, I'm there, and some are saying, not quite yet, but they're on their way. So then that's something that we need to, as we get more into the context of it and the science, it will become a little bit more meaningful. Does that make sense, my friends? Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you because your input is going to help us drive how we respond tomorrow. And so far, people are saying they can't hide or be ignored, but some are saying, yes, they're still good at hiding.
Okay, go ahead.
That tells us we got to get on that one. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
okay.
Anyway, so,
any questions about that?
I'm not calling him.
Uh-huh.
Is that somebody that's not on mute?
Because I don't need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So then let's go ahead, and Michelle, can you take over the screen again? So I'm going to say stop sharing. All right. And then Michelle's going to get up our next slide. But do you guys see how the feedback is really helpful? I think it's really important to constantly be asking your student how they feel. Is it working for them? And if it is, what is it that's working and what's not working? And I think that's the key, is to know what's working and keep doing it. But then if they can still hide, why? Okay? All right. So Michelle's
Hi,
going
Lee.
to show us. Yeah?
It's Kelsey. Kelsey's on it.
I'm going to share,
Michelle,
but
can you share the slides?
yeah, as I share, we did have a question from Sarah who says, I wanted another, or not a question, but a point that says, I wanted another choice for the were you able to hide question. And I personally would be interested in hearing what other options would have been helpful.
Yes, me too. Sarah.
Well, I tend to be a more introverted person and learner. And so sometimes I need to take a break and process. So I forget what the two choices were, but it was like, do you feel like, I forget what the choices were, but it was like, are you fully engaged or were you able to hide? And it was kind of like, you know, I chose to hide sometimes so that I could process.
Okay, so Sarah,
So you might not call it hiding. I wanted a choice that wasn't like, were you able to hide? It's like, you know what I mean? I forget what the two choices were.
I do know what you mean. And so you felt like you had to hide because you didn't have enough processing time?
Yeah.
Or you weren't able to speak yet because you didn't have enough time to process?
Again, I forget what the first choice was.
Okay. All right, but that's good for us to consider because a couple of people said the pace is kind of fast.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I think it's fair in a course like this to, I mean, I appreciated Indy when I told him I needed an eye break, because at 60 minutes, all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm getting a headache. I need to get my eyes away from this screen. He was like, cool, cool, no worries. Come back when you can. And that felt really good.
Nice. Anybody else want to add something to that? Okay, well, thank you. We're going to keep checking in with you guys and keep being really honest and transparent because that helps us as facilitators. So in terms of the community norms, what was really interesting when we went through every single one of the Jamboards, we realized that a lot of you responded as, this is a protocol I would want for myself as the facilitator. Things like saying, we want to give people breaks. We want to make sure we have multiple tools, multiple ways to respond. And then there were others that responded in terms of, as a participant, I want to make sure that I'm respectful of my peers, that I step up and step back. So what we did was we broke them down and said, here's what you were saying would be good norms for us as facilitators or teachers, educators, because we are facilitators. And then we also said about participants, what would the norms be if we're being a participant? And then what we did, we took from that, and that told us, number one, we really weren't clear enough on our how to do it, because that's what happens sometimes. We get something different than what we ask for, which is great, because now we posted that for you, and Michelle will give you the link. But then what we did is we said, based on all of that, and reading each board, what did we get as the feel that all of you had? How did you feel about us as a community of learners? How would you like us to be for these next few days? And so based on that, we came up with these 6, and we're gonna give you quiet time to read them. And then Michelle is posting a link to a Google survey where you can look at them and say, yes, no, how about you tweak this one to this? And oh, by the way, this one's most important, it's not there. Does that make sense? Just do a thumbs up if you agree. And we'll give you like 3 or 4 minutes to do that. Yes? And Michelle will turn on the music and then she'll turn it off when it's time to come back.
And everybody, the link is in the chat.
Thank you.
The submit button doesn't say submit, it says to get the link, and it recirculates you back to the survey.
Oh no. So Amanda, did you create the survey? Can we look at that real fast? Thank you. Thanks for telling us, Karen.
Mine didn't do that, just so.
Because you're special, Allie.
It depends on
That's
which
what you've
link.
always told me.
I think it depends on which link you clicked on from the chat. Amanda's probably works, but Michelle's is the one that recirculates, because that's the one I did too, and mine recirculated.
Oh, holy macaronis. Thank you, Molly.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, my friends. You can continue to add to that if you would like to. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to sharing our COVID stories. And then based on your input, we'll post the norms again tomorrow morning and we'll keep constantly checking against them. Does that make sense? Because in your classroom, this would be like probably the whole first week of school, right? So just taking our time and making sure our norms match our community that we wanna create. So I'm gonna pass it off to our next person. I believe it's Kelsey.
Hello, everybody. How is the screen share? Can everyone see what we are looking at here? Which should be the sharing our COVID stories. Good? All right. So can we do a quick check-in thumbs up if you were able to complete a digital artwork or artifact during the lunch period? And thumbs down, maybe if you're still working on it. Okay, so a few people still working on it. Looks like a bunch of thumbs up. Go ahead.
Sorry, can I ask a clarifying question?
Of course.
I didn't realize that what we were supposed to be creating was for our COVID story. I thought what we were creating was our metaphor.
That is, I think that's a really good thing to bring up, so thank you. The metaphor, in a lot of ways, is part of your COVID story. So thank you for clarifying. And yes, that is a totally legitimate, that's what we're looking for. So yes, to clarify, when I say COVID stories, I'm really talking about the work that Indy asked you to do before break and then coming back with those digital image, either a picture of the artwork that you created or a text-based document, something around your metaphor or your experience of COVID. Does that clarify for everybody? Good? Okay. So oh good, looks like there's another question.
Sorry.
That's okay.
The metaphor for how I'm grounded. Okay, never mind. I got it.
You sure?
Took me a little while to process.
You might have same question other people have.
Well, I was just thinking because if the metaphor is what kind of keeps me grounded or connected or helps me to get back to a place of peace, so to speak, then it's I'm having a hard time finding that in my COVID story.
That's a really good point and a really interesting thing. I think that you're definitely not alone, and that in and of itself is a valuable thing for us to take and examine, which is what we're going to get to do during this activity, hopefully. So I appreciate you sharing, Karen, and I think that there are additional people who are experiencing the same thing.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I did my little metaphor pictures into my science notebook, my digital notebook.
Okay.
So will I be able to share it off of that? I'm not real tech savvy. So should I make a copy? Because it says upload it.
Eileen, as you're more familiar with the digital notebook, would you feel comfortable, or another person?
No, I think maybe what you do is is it possible to take a picture of it or a snapshot?
Screenshot?
Because then what you can do is you can turn the snapshot into a JPEG and upload it.
Okay, I'm on a PC and I'm not real savvy how to snapshot with this.
Okay, and even if you can't do that, I'm good at just take my iPhone and take a picture of the screen.
Okay.
And then you got the picture, and then you can upload it, send the picture to yourself in email, and then you can put it as a JPEG on your screen.
That's what I do.
Deborah,
Thank
I don't
you.
know if y'all can
Good at workarounds.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's great.
Yeah, Whitney, we can hear you.
Oh, you can. I was going to say, Deborah, I had the same situation, and you can click on the slide you did it, because I did mine on slide 2. If you click on that slide in Google Slides, you go to File and hit Download. You can download it onto your PC as an image, and then just plop that straight into the Google Drive folder that they have for your school.
Thank you, Whitney. Thanks.
You're very welcome. And you can just download it as that individual slide as a picture.
So it sounds like we have a couple options. I encourage you to pick whichever one is the most expedient and easiest for you. And I would like to move on to the next step, but if there are questions that continue, if you want to add them to the chat, then I'll do my best to multitask, and we'll try and make sure everybody can get their documents on. But yes, as an artifact, it doesn't have to be your primary document, right? It doesn't have to be the artwork that you created. It can be a picture of it. We are just interested in having something to share with each other. So on this slide, you will see a list of your school districts, and they are linked. You should be able to click one. So I just clicked on NUSD for Nevada Unified, and it's going to take you to a Google folder, and I would love for you guys to upload your file into your Google folder that matches your school district. So I'm going to go back to the slide here. You would click on the link for your school district, and it should link directly to a Google folder. Once you see that Google folder, if you can upload your digital artifact to this folder, either by dragging and dropping the item into the folder, or by going to the little plus sign and upload. And if anybody ends up having some issues with that, please feel free to post in the chat, and I will be watching just in case.
Kelsey, can you walk us through one more time? I double clicked on and it shows me the same screen.
Okay, so you clicked on one of the NUSD?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it doesn't take you to any external link?
No.
Is anybody else having this issue?
If you're trying to click the one that's on the share screen, it won't work. It's only going to work if you're over in the, if you have the actual one, the slide deck open.
Oh, how do I get that slide deck? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm with you. That was my bad. Let me put the slide deck.
Do you have view options? Did you go out of full size sharing? That's what killed me this morning.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I must have
done that.
There's this exit full screen I discovered this morning.
If you just hit escape, it'll exit you from full screen and you don't have to like search for a button.
Okay, I hit escape and now I can see the chat and now I'm going to go look through the...
I just added the slide deck link again, so you should be able to click on it at the bottom of the chat.
Awesome, thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for bringing up the question. I'm going to give people another few minutes for that. Again, let me know if there's anything you're running up against here.
Which slide is the number?
It is slide.
Oh dear.
Excellent question. It is slide 40.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yay. Oops, sorry.
Okay, if you have completed this process, if you could go ahead and either do the thumbs up reaction or give me a thumbs up on the screen. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do one more minute here and then we'll go on to the next step, but you'll still be able to keep uploading.
Kelsey, it's magnifying it like crazy when I'm trying to, I guess I hit Zoom.
Did you click on the link in the chat?
Mm-hmm.
And it's magnifying the folder or the item, the artifact?
I'm gonna go try again.
Okay. All right. So this looks more complicated than it is. I actually would like to go back to one slide here. So what we're going to do is a small group activity sharing our artifacts with one another, and we're going to use what we call a thinking routine. Many of you have probably used this before, but for those of you who are new to it, it's called See, Think, Wonder, and it comes out of the Harvard Project Zero. And it's a really great way to get your students to use critical looking skills and thinking skills and really build their visual literacy, as well as inspire all students to step up and speak. So what we're gonna do in a second, we're gonna break you out into breakout rooms of 4 people. And you're gonna pull up your folder with your artifacts and choose one person to share your screen. I'm gonna walk you through the share screen process just so that we visit that before you go into your breakout rooms. But I wanted to give you the basic structure and I'm gonna put it in the chat. So when you get into your groups of 4, each person is gonna have a chance to present on their artifact, their story or what was built from their gesture. But we're gonna do it in a unique way, a flipped way. So for the first 3 minutes, I want all participants, except for the artist, to be talking. And what you'll do is you'll go through and answer 3 things. The first thing is I see, the second thing is I think, and the third is I wonder. So let's say we pull up an item and we'll use the little emojis right here that I've already added for See, Think, Wonder on our slides. And so what do you see in those images? So I see a light bulb. What do I think about? It's making me think about thoughts and having ideas. But I wonder, so what question do you have about this image? So the 3 items are I see, I think, I wonder, and you start each sentence with those. Does that make sense to everybody? So we're gonna look at one person's artwork in the group, and everybody besides the artist will have time to contribute to the I see, I think, I wonder. And you can do all 3 or you can pick one. Artists, while this 3 minutes is happening, I want you to either take notes or as you're listening, pick things that you would really like to respond to or that you thought were interesting. When it comes to your time to present, you will have 2 minutes, and you'll just respond with your thoughts, your feelings, and your intentions around your artifact. So you'll just tell your story from the standpoint of the artifact that you're presenting. So 5 minutes total per artwork. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so I will put the See Think Wonder prompt into the chat. And then we're gonna just really talk very quickly about sharing screens, because I know some people have done it and some people haven't yet. So here we go. When you get into your small groups, you're gonna choose one person to be the screen sharer. So pick one person out of your group of 4 people that's gonna do share screen. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see this green button, which highlighted here is just the share screen button. You click the green share screen button. Lastly, it'll come up with this menu here of different pages that you can open that are on your computer. So you'll just pick the page that has your Google folder open. So it's that simple. You pick the green share screen button, and then you'll choose the screen with the folder that's open. And then when you go to click on items, it'll show up and everyone will be able to see them. Does that make sense?
So we will be with people from our district?
You are going to be in a mixed group.
So we have to navigate from folder to folder.
Yes, that is an excellent point.
Okay.
And if there's anything, if anybody has issues with it, you can always pop out of your breakout room or send us a question. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, and Kelsey, can I say one more thing? I think because this is difficult in the time, should we maybe make the groups be just groups of 3 so that we can at least see a couple?
Sure. Yeah, we can do groups of 3.
Is that okay?
The smaller, the better, as long as you have more than 2. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you so much.
All right. So we are going to send you into breakout rooms. And remember your prompt of I see, I think, I wonder, and try and keep it to 5 minutes per artwork. Been a question posed. So while we're waiting for everybody to get back settled into the main room, if you can just type in some of your thoughts about that experience into the chat. What's that?
Where's the question?
Oh, let me repost it. 1 second.
So. Yes, please.
Yeah, so Cindy's mentioned that she liked sharing and thinking about how to do the same activity with her students. So I know we have a broad range of grade levels here with us, and some of us are working with multi-grade levels. And so can anyone from a specific upper or lower grade level kind of share how you would maybe try and implement this kind of share back activity with your kids? Does anyone want to take a stab at it?
Well, I teach 2nd grade, and
you know, maybe have the parents take a picture of their collages and then I can screen share it as the child talks about it. Second grade might, I don't know, at the beginning of the year, I don't know how tech they will be.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tracy.
My,
yeah, this is, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, for my fourth graders, we did a lot of, I created a Google slide and then they all inputted their pictures into the, so we had one huge slide, or we also often used Padlet where they could attach their pictures. So it was kind of an interactive.
Those are great suggestions, Lisa. Yeah, we had talked about using a slides for this. Our group's a little large for that, but for a classroom size, that's an excellent idea. Let's see. We have quite a bit of responses here. The interpretation of art gave me new perspectives on what I created. So having other people's feedback, that's really interesting. Eileen mentioned she loved hearing what others said first and then hearing how the artist interpreted their work. What was that, how did that add to or challenge the conversation, Eileen?
So it was really interesting because I'm thinking of like how Allie went last and she had this picture of the girl and then water. So we all thought one thing and it kind of mirrored what she said. But the great part was it went deeper because I had all of those ideas in my head. And then when Allie shared what she was doing and she had this whole water thing, it was way deeper than what I had originally thought. So it was just really helpful sometimes to see the artwork, what speaks to us, but then hear what spoke to the artist. It made it a deeper experience. It was good. I learned a lot.
Excellent, thank you. Kristen says, we have many comments. Thank you guys. Kristen says, I love hearing about how differently folks interpret their feelings and thoughts into images. So it's a creative process and thinking about that skill. Maureen says, it's great hearing from a variety of colleagues. And let's see here. Those coming in late, for those coming in late, as you rejoin the group, let us know your thoughts about the See, Think, Wonder experience. So the question that we're talking about is what were your takeaways from that? And if anything stood out, you can add it to the chat or unmute yourself. Sandra says, I'm sorry, I enjoyed connecting with my group members and seeing that we had similar perceptions. And Sarah mentioned, I love how the feedback showed me hidden messages I had accidentally included in my picture. Yes, the joy of being an artist is that you can take credit for those as well. And how then you tend to look at your artwork differently and grow your own perspective on what you've done. Carrie mentioned that happens to her as well, hidden messages that you know, maybe hadn't been in the mind as you were creating it, but were communicated nonetheless. And Julie says she loved hearing others' interpretations of the same images. Excellent. So I would love to continue sort of dissecting this process with you guys. I would encourage you to follow up with us in any of these things that we're doing at the end of the day, just to see if you have questions or particular thoughts about it. But in an effort to get on to the next activity, I am going to share my screen one more time with everybody. And it's going to take us to what's going to be kind of our final wrap up of reflecting on the COVID stories or the activity you did earlier with Indy. So we're going to do a collaborative word cloud. And it's a platform that allows people to update it live. So can everybody who's done a word cloud before or used a word cloud, can you raise your hand? Some people? Okay, it's like 50-50, yeah. So word clouds are a really excellent way to introduce your students into the idea of data visualization. And when I say data visualization, I'm talking about looking at a big group of information and finding a visual way to analyze that. So it's really approachable for any grade level. I've used it in anywhere from third grade to graduate school. And for students who are still learning their letters or determining, if you're determining how else to do this in a more visual way that doesn't include words, there are certain platforms that allow you to use emojis and things like that. So there are different opportunities, but this is a free platform. what I would like you guys to do, you'll see on the screen, it says go to www.menti.com and use the code 516971. I'm going to put this code into the chat, and I would like you to just go ahead and click on the link here. Oops. Oops, I accidentally clicked on the link, sorry. So as a reminder, you would be going to your slides, the slides on your computer, not the presentation screen. And you click on either the text or you can click on the image and it'll take you to the same place. And once you get there, sorry, I'm just gonna type in the numbers to the chat. What's happening? Okay. I'm gonna type the numbers into the chat. 516971, and I'm checking the messages out here. So it looks like 5169. Okay, has everybody been able to get onto the site? Okay, Sarah got it, awesome. So you're just gonna add your one word to, the word cloud, and I'm gonna bring up what that looks like.
So Kelsey, can I say one thing? What discombobulated me when I got there, it said 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Yeah. And I tried to erase that or block it out and then type. But what you have to do is just type your number right over it and then it works. It was a little bit tricky for me. I'm just being honest. Thank you. Thanks for, you're probably not the only person with that question. Yes, thank you for adding that. It's kind of a weird.
Was that Mentimeter?
Yes.
That came up? Okay.
Yeah.
I got out of there because it was kind of strange.
Yeah, it should just be a blank screen. It should look like this, a blank screen.
That's what it was.
Yeah, but see, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which was weird, but just ignore that and just start typing the 5, 1, and then it works.
And then you click submit and it'll have you do an answer.
See, I can be the beta test for the person that doesn't get it, Kelsey, okay? I've got an important job here.
So I'm just going to share the presentation screen so that you can see it as it's populated. And the thing about word clouds that make it kind of interesting is if you have words in the cloud that are bigger than others, that means it's a visual representation of how popular that word is, right? So it looks like stress, turbulence, and anxiety are pretty popular words that have been input. Some of the other words that we're seeing are memories, fearless, uncertain, relaxing, resilience, determined, reflective. So there's a really good mix of honest feelings, which I appreciate, as well as a good mix of what we would traditionally consider negative and positive emotions, but within the larger word cloud, it kind of changes its context. All right. So we'll just go ahead and take one more minute to populate that.
And I do like whoever just posted that, Carrie, about the littles. Yeah, you could definitely first talk about words that represent emotions and have people close their eyes and picture them, have a word board, and then kids could choose it and type it in. That was a brilliant idea. I think that was Carrie.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie. I'm wondering about brainstorming a word bank to try this as a scaffolding. Yes. Yeah, so this is kind of I pulled this platform specifically because it's free and you can see once you have the code, it's a pretty easy input that can happen from a phone or a computer. And you can have multiple people add at the same time. There are plenty of word cloud platforms that are free that you can self-populate for your students. So you could just have them add their word into the chat or as Carrie suggested, create a word bank. And then self-populate that word cloud as well. And it's a pretty quick transition. Yeah, Eva points out that there's kind of a mix of emotions and some of the other words that we put in here Deep Roots is one that I see. And Sarah, yeah, it's totally okay. I think it'll just add to the depth of reflection for us. Cindy, it would be a wonderful way to see how students are feeling about coming back. Yeah, you can use this as a, no pun intended, but as a temperature taker to start at the beginning of the year and try it again later on. All right, so this will keep populating, and I'll go ahead and share it with everybody. We'll share it with everybody as a resource later so you can see how it ended up. But I did want to move on to the next step with Eileen. Eileen, are you ready?
I am. You showed the map, and I'm here, my friend.
All right.
And
pulling up the map here.
You guys, I want to tell you, through this whole process, I met I made a lot of new friends. But Willow, who's going to be going after me out in the Bolinas area, and then she introduced me to Don Jolly, who was actually a retired teacher, and they both came on board and have been helping. And one of the things that we talked about was that we wanted to start with the personal. And that's how kids, when they come back to school, they can't think about content when they're thinking about themselves and who their teacher is and who their friends are. And so when we did that, that's why we wanted to start with the COVID stories. And then with all these genius technology people like Kelsey, with those folders, if you click on this map, so like Lagunitas, if you click on that, you'll see all the stories related to that. And then if you click on the San Rafael or the Novato, it's a way where you'll be able to see it. So what we were talking about was that this watershed becomes a whole great big metaphor for what we're going to be going on to science-wise. And I'm going to be really honest with you here. Don Jolly is just like such a deep soul. And what I'm going to read and explain, he said 10,000 times better than me. So he typed it up this weekend, and I'm going to read it, but I want to be really clear. These are Don's beautiful words. So what he says is, in this time of social isolation, it might be easy to imagine that we're alone in the world and that ours is the only story at play. But what emerges from your work with Indy is confirmation that each of us has a story to tell, and that those stories are as vital and wonderfully varied as the storytellers themselves. If we could somehow create a map of your stories, which if you look here we have, we'd see a network of converging streams. You see the blue lines that emerge. Individual tributaries gathering together into something larger and inclusive. Something we might be inspired to call a story shed. A web of thoughts and experiences and narratives to which each of us is a contributor, and within which each of us has a place. That image of converging stories serves as a fitting introduction then to this week's study of another convergence, the gathering of waterways into what we call a watershed. And in the same way that each of us is pondering our place in the story shed of a pandemic, we're going to spend the next 4 days exploring our place in the watershed and how it is that we might conscript watershed studies as a focus for our classrooms when school resumes in the weeks ahead. To that end, we're going to continue this afternoon with the theme of gathering and look at a tool we can use to gather together what we already know and don't know about watersheds. And so who's going to take over from here is Willow, who's going to go from my mind map to my own watershed. But that just gives you the flavor for the entire week. And thank you, Don Jolly, wherever you are, for your beautiful words.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Eileen. I had the great fortune of working with Don for 10 years, and I recognize those beautiful words in many of the things that he has said. So thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Thanks for sticking around until the afternoon for this mind mapping workshop. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Awesome, great. All right, so hold on, whoever's, yeah, let's stay there. Who is it Kelsey, who is my tech person? Okay, so great, let's just keep it right there. All right, so I'm gonna review with you all today a tool that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but I'm gonna show it to you in a couple of maybe ways that are new. So mind mapping, it has lots of different forms. There's web, brainstorming. I'm sure you've seen it and used it many times in your class. It's a tool for thinking, it's a tool for reflection, it's a tool for observation. On this first slide, you'll see a very, what I would consider primary mind map of weather. There's some images, there's your central theme, and then there's the different kind of subcategories or sub-ideas outside. There's some pictures. So there's one example. Kelsey, if you could go to the next slide. Here's a couple of other examples of mind maps. One is the global waterways. This is one I pulled off of the internet, but I liked that it was lots of pictures and kind of went all over the place, showed the ways in which, sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback.
I'm gonna quit here and go somewhere.
Kelsey, can I do something about that? I don't know if I'm a host.
It's just a reminder for all participants to mute because they may be hearing some feedback that way.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Sorry, everybody. On the right is a mind map that I used with my 6th grade history students. So in the center, you can see the topic was ancient Sumer in the city of Ur. And then we had categories around the edge. And then the students and I generated examples of those different categories. So conflict, cooperation, there were lots of wars. Individuals, there was a clear social rank. So we just brainstormed all these different ideas. Can you go to the next slide, please? Here's a couple other examples. The one on the right is one that I dug up from when I was getting my teaching credential, and it's circa 2003. And it shows a map about myself, a story map, a self map, which we're gonna do in just a couple minutes. On the left is one that I did with my family to organize a kind of at-home summer camp that we were doing this summer. So I am more of a word person. You might be more of a visual person. All right, on to the next slide, please, Kelsey. So what we're gonna do today to follow along with all of the work of the day on identity and self-reflection is we're gonna do a self map. And I'm gonna walk you through it in the next slide, but I wanted to show you a couple of different examples. So on the left-hand side is my example of a self map. And I started out with my name in the middle, Willow. And then I did a couple of different categories. So I did books. I'm a big book fan, and I wrote a couple of my favorite books. I did music. I'm a big music fan, a couple of my favorite musicians. Hiking, something I love to do, a couple places I've hiked. And then on the other side, I didn't necessarily do categories because I wanted to show you that there's many different ways to use a mind map. There's no right way to do it. So please do whatever feels good to you. On the other side, I didn't put a category, but I did list all the places that I had lived, and I represented that with a little icon of a house. And I put my characteristics. I have short brown hair, I wear glasses, I'm 5'2", and I put a little person. So there's many different ways you can represent it. On the right, you'll see another example. I pulled this one off the internet, but I loved it because this person used color in a really nice way. They used images in a really nice way. And it looks like they did this on some kind of internet platform, of which there are many. There will be some references to those in the presentation that you can look for. But what I loved about this example is that this person used color in a really great way and images. So 2 examples of self-mapping. Kelsey, could you go to the next slide, please? All right. So everybody, okay, there's not a question. Great. So what I'd like for you all to do right now is to please get a piece of paper and a pen, if that is the form that works well for you. If you are comfortable doing this kind of brainstorming on a computer program, please do that. That's totally fine. Actually, Kelsey, can you go back to the previous slide? We're not quite to this one yet, I realize. No, previous, yeah, self-mapping, great. Okay, so what I'd like everybody to do is to get your piece of paper, and we're gonna take about 5 minutes, and you're gonna brainstorm thinking about some of the ideas that we've talked about today. Maybe an idea of how you've been doing during COVID. It can really be whatever form you need. And I think that's part of the importance of self-discovery, is kind of going wherever it is that you feel that you need to go. Self-mapping is really interesting for identity work because it can be both a window into how other people might see you, and also a mirror for how you see yourself. So it gets to that concept of how you identify yourself and also how you are identified by other people. But that's like a whole nother level. So for today, you have your piece of paper. Everybody give me a thumbs up if you have your piece of paper. Great, okay. And you're gonna put your name in the middle. So you can see my example, I have my name in the middle. And then I want you to spend about 5 minutes just brainstorming things about yourself. And I leave it entirely up to you. You can use pictures, you can use images, you can use abbreviations, you can use words, you can use phrases, you can use color, you can use categories or not use categories. Totally up to you, however you want to do it. And then in about 4 minutes, I'll give you a little warning and you can come back and we will share them in breakout rooms. Does anyone have any questions? And I can't see you all, so maybe put them in the chat if you have a question. The prompt is just, oh, great. Hey, yeah, awesome. Now I can see people. The prompt is merely yourself. Who are you? How do you identify? And if you need some help with that, you could start like I did. What are your physical characteristics? What are your hobbies and interests? What is your educational background? Who are members of your family? Where have you lived? Go from there. All right. Any other questions? Awesome. All right. Have fun. Uh-oh. Did I just move somebody's thing? All right, take about 30 more seconds, please, to wrap up your self map. And Kelsey, do I have the opportunity to make breakout rooms, or is that only you?
Michelle does.
Michelle. Michelle, are you here? Somewhere?
Hi there, I'm right here and
Hi,
I'm ready
great.
when you are.
Awesome. Could you make breakout rooms with 3 or 4 people?
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So Michelle's going to put you all into a breakout room. And when you are in that room, I want you to practice oops, sorry, I'm trying to get to the slide. Yeah. So share with your partners in your breakout room. I'm sorry, Michelle, can you do just 2 people? Did you already do it?
Oh, no, I can do that.
Awesome. Thank you. Because
It'll
one of
just
the
be,
things
people will be in different rooms than they were this morning.
that should be fine. One of the things about sharing in any kind of reflection piece is to follow some kind of protocols that give anybody some structure for how to share. So when you're in your breakout room, I want you to spend about a minute sharing your self map, explaining it to your partner, and then I want your partner to spend about 30 seconds. And I can put up a timer if that would be helpful for people, or if you just want to kind of keep it. I think I can send a message to you all in your breakout rooms. But it's important to have, or it can be useful for people to have some kind of protocols for how to share out, because then it's more structured and it enables everybody to know how to participate and also to have them be accountable for participating. So partner number 1, you have a minute, share your self map with your partner. And then partner number 2, you have 30 seconds to respond with what do you notice, any questions, compliments, feedback that you have. Then switch. Partner number 2 will share their map for a minute, and then partner number 1 will reflect on that for 30 seconds. And then you'll have 1 to 2 minutes to identify what are some things that you have in common. What are some things that both of your mind maps share? Or maybe what are some things that were noticeably different about your mind map? Perhaps you really focused on your hobbies and interests, and perhaps your partner really focused on their educational background or their family life. So maybe you went in 2 completely different directions, or maybe you used different platforms. Maybe somebody used color and somebody used images. So think about what things are similar, ways you can connect with this person through your self map, and what are ways that you notice that you're different, and how can you celebrate and acknowledge that. Does anyone have any questions before you go into the chat? Into the breakout rooms, I'm sorry. Okay, I am not seeing any questions. So wonderful, thank you, Michelle. If you could put people into breakout rooms, and you have about 5 minutes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you could please put in the chat one thing that you have in common with your partner.
Seems to me that was like work and life. Oh, well. That was fast.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. Gardening. We both like to read. We love the outdoors. Teaching. Yay!
Right.
Let's see. People like to be active, family, moving to new homes. These are great. Cooking, being active, protecting an elderly parent. Family is important. Places. Wonderful. Wonderful. If you can, if you have the capacity to hold up your mind map to the screen just for a minute so people can see. Oh, I see Sandra's, I see Sarah's, I see Ethan's, I see Ava's. It's okay if it's electronic. Sorry, we're going old school. Oh, Don's totally got the visual. I see Deborah's and Molly's and Kirsten's and Susan's and Cindy's. This is like that show where
sounds like Romper Room.
Yeah, it's like Romper Room, right? I see all of my friends. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your self maps. Nicely done. That's a nice way to reflect based upon all the work that we were doing this morning. Wonderful. Yeah, and you know, to those of you who did it on a virtual platform, good for you. I was trying to just keep it low tech today because I'm personally feeling like there's a lot of different tech things coming at me, and it's a lot. All right, great. So I would like to go back and talk about what your homework is going to be for tonight. So we've done self-mapping, so we spent some time reflecting upon us and being inward. And the next step, all right, so we shared your self-maps. Okay, so your task for this evening, your mission for this evening, should you choose to accept it, is to find a sit spot, which, if you're not familiar, is a favorite place in nature or with a view of nature that you visit regularly. And there's all kinds of information on sit spots, nature journaling. You can go down that pathway. There's many, many different resources if you would like to know more about sit spots. But it is kind of like a mindfulness practice with nature as your grounding concept. So it helps you to cultivate awareness as you expand your senses, thinking about what you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you taste maybe, all of the different sensory experiences that you have. And it also helps you to be aware of how things stay the same and how things change, which is one of the big science ideas for the NGSS. So how do things stay the same? How do they change? So what I'd like for you to do tonight or this afternoon or after we get off of this call is to find a place in nature or with a view of nature and sit down in that place. Take a few deep breaths. I liked, somebody said earlier they had a starfish breathing with their little ones, that they're breathing in and out as they're going along their hand. That's a good, bring it back to the breath. Check in to see how you're feeling, and then practice opening your senses and observing nature. So you can see the picture here on the bottom of my screen is a panorama of the creek that is behind my house. So if you are in a place where you can see nature, then I'd like you to use that as your prompt. And if you're in a place where you cannot see nature, you may use my visual of my creek, all right? So please take about a minute to just take a few deep breaths and then enter into the chat one thing that you notice or one thing that you wonder about a natural phenomena that you're seeing around you. So for example, I might put down reflection of leaves on water. All right, are there any questions about that? I'm trying to get to the questions here.
You want a picture of your spot, or
if you would like to take a picture of your spot, that's fine, and share it with us tomorrow. or you could draw it if that's part of your jam, or you can just write about it. So, but just right now, just take it, we're taking a little mental break. Look at nature, look at my creek, take a few breaths. Let's just slow down. And record one thing that you notice about your natural surroundings, or one thing that you wonder either about what you can see right out your window or out your back door, or if you can't see nature from where you are, about my picture of my creek. Swallows flying, birds, I notice birds chirping, how wind travels through different spaces, why it's been so windy, birds chirping, why is it taking so long for tomatoes to ripen, what kind of birds live around my creek, great. Swallows flying, how many bugs they eat each day, does the same group of bees come back to the spot each day, or is there a constant stream of new bees? These are some great inquiry questions. Dawn is going to talk about the levels of questions tomorrow. Seeing the outdoors and the freeway, calming and chaotic. Yep, wondering how it can be so quiet and relaxing even with the freeway so close. Seeing branches blowing in the wind, wondering if it has cooled down on my deck. I hope you get to find out soon, Julie. It's so dry and dusty. I wonder how the plants are so clever to hold on to their moisture. I notice the breeze through my oak tree. I wonder if the plants on my back porch would like some water. Listening to the birds. What are the dragonflies looking for? The same family of squirrels living in my tree. I wonder how long they've been there and how long they will stay. What that lone red stock plant is in the Truckee forest. Is it native? Shadows on my path. Species, how many species? It's finally sunny, blue skies after weeks of dense fog. What shifted? Where did the baby birds go? There's blue skies today when it's usually overcast and foggy. How many shades of green? Oh, great question. All right, lots and lots of great, great questions. Are these the same hummingbirds that I see every day? Why do those plants grow together and not all over? What kind of flowers my neighbor has in their backyard? These are great questions. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, everybody come on back from taking your little nature moment. And let's go on to our next slide. So your homework for tonight is to create a new mind map. So the first mind map that we did today was looking at yourself with yourself in the center. But now we want you to create a mind map that's connecting together this idea of myself and where I am in my watershed. So think of those maps that Eileen showed us right before she introduced me, and think about that whole state of California and how the watershed is broken up into these basins, these bowls, and how we are all in a particular geographic location within all of those different watersheds. And probably all of you can think of where the water is near you. You might not know the name of the creek or the river or the marsh, but probably you're close by some water. And if you can think about where you are on that water, and then how that connects to the San Francisco Bay, or how that connects to the Tomales Bay, or how that connects to the Pacific Ocean, or how that connects to the Richardson Bay, all these different waterways around us. So I went outside onto my back deck, and I'm on the Lagunitas San Geronimo Creek, and I did this yesterday. And I sat down and I put in the center my place in the watershed. Okay, so this is your homework for tonight. So we want you to do the same thing. You don't have to do it right now, but we'd like you to do it before you come back tomorrow morning. And I, again, did it kind of two different ways. I started by thinking, what are the senses that I'm using? So I'm smelling. What am I smelling? Well, I'm smelling the bay trees that are all around me, and I'm smelling the water that's coming up from the creek. So I wrote those down. What do I see? I see the creek. I see the trees. I know the names of some of the trees around me, and I know what their leaf shapes are. So because my growing edge is drawing. I'm much more of a word person than a drawer. So I'm trying to draw more. So I have the bay leaf, which is long and elongated, and I have the oak leaf, which has ruffled edges, and I have the maple, which is fringy and has lots of different lobes. And I know there's some invasive plants around my house, the vinca and the English blackberry and the ivy. And then what do I hear? I hear the crow caw. I hear the wind in the trees. I hear the cars on Sir Francis Drake Boulevard near my house. I hear the wind chimes that my neighbor has. I hear the bird song. And then I didn't really taste anything, and I was touching my pen, so I kind of skipped over those things. If you want to go to either of those senses, power to you. And then I just added a couple of observations that there's orange and yellow leaves floating on the water. There's a reflection of part of the sky in the still pool in the low part of my creek. And I can see where the high water mark is on the tree. When my creek gets really high in the winter, I can see where the water line is. So your homework for tonight is to create your own mind map, your own My Place in the Watershed map, sitting in your sit spot, a sit spot. It doesn't have to be anything particularly fancy, but a place where you can see, maybe see some water. If there's a place by your house where you can easily get to even a little tiny creek or a seasonal creek where right now it might be dry, but you know in the winter that there is water there. If you can, great. And if not, just go outside into your backyard where you can see some trees and some blue sky and a little bit of green. So that is all that I have for you today. I think that is it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you, Willow. That was really helpful and fun. I'm excited to see where everybody is in relationship to the watershed tomorrow. So thank you. Yeah, and I believe Michelle's going to show you what we need for tomorrow. And then the other thing is we're just going to quickly ask you to do a really quick survey so that we can learn a little bit more. And it's very fast. But go ahead, Michelle. Why don't you talk about what to bring tomorrow? Tomorrow is the Bay Area Discovery Museum.
Yes, we're so excited. So we have something colored green, something colored red, something that you could show in front of your screen. And then we have this My Thinking and Planning page, which is available on the website to have available. And then these materials. So let's see here. At least 5 different types of materials with you before the workshop begins. And this is mostly for the afternoon. So these were the list. Something durable, like sticks or clothespins, something flexible, something to connect, something that is soft, and something that can float. And there you have it. And then on the Google slide deck is the reflection form that you can click into when we're finished here. It just helps guide our work with you. So thank you for doing that in advance. And Eileen,
thank you, Michelle. Yep,
anything else?
Yep. Well, I think number one, thank you everybody for a great day. This has been really good. I've actually learned a lot, and I'm feeling a little bit better about re-entering the school system. And tomorrow we're going to start with all about being outside. And I'm just going to say something I have no idea how appropriate or inappropriate it is, but it's my heart, which is I see lots of people jumping on, wanting to be a part of these small learning pods, etc. I feel kind of angry about it and just like offended because I feel like our teachers are so phenomenal. And I really believe that we were thrown into a crisis, and I feel like there's a sense of judgment out there. And I know that by the end, teachers are doing such amazing things, and everybody that I was in a small group with today, they're doing such cool stuff. I think the science is telling us kids need to be outside, so everything we've got planned is all amazing things that you can do outside with your kids. And I want you to know, I believe in each and every one of you, and if my neighbors ask me, I'm going to tell them, give the teachers a chance. Go to your local public school. Your teachers are going to do phenomenal stuff. And I just really wanted to say that because that was part of the reason why I'm doing this, because I want you guys to be the best that you can be. And I'm not making judgment. People are going to do what they're going to do. But I want you to know that I think you're all going to do phenomenal stuff. So anyways, go on if you could. Is the link to the quickie evaluation in the chat, Michelle?
I will put it there.
Okay. And I know that it's clear to you that we're all collaborating together, and it's very fortunate that I've got Michelle right here with me and that we were able to get our partners. But I want you guys to know, I just went out and I'm serious, I made new friends. I never met Willow before, I never met Dawn. I did know Kristen, and I never met Indy before. And you're gonna meet, oh my God, you're gonna meet Megan from the River Otter Ecology Project this week. They're all new friends. And so I encourage you, get your neighbors, get parents, anybody that you can, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, moms, dads, to help you so you've got a team when you go back. And if you've learned stuff here, this is all being recorded. So go back and get your peers to join you, because it's going to take all of us to be out there to get our kids to come to us, because you guys know best. Does that make sense, my friends? I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Please do the survey. Any suggestions, send me emails. I'm open to learn from each of you. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.